From Nickelodeon stardom to conquering the stand-up stage, Angelique Bates is a true entertainment icon. This multi-talented actress, comedian, and entrepreneur seamlessly blends humor with heart, sharing stories that will leave you laughing and reflecting.
Writing stuff about that was like kid material, and then you're becoming a woman.
Like I said, I came fresh off of the Nickelodeon run. So mind you, I said that was a period where I was going in between from childhood to adulthood and developing. And then also, it's really, you have to pick what lane you're going to be. Because if, like I said, that kid to the adulthood to how you're going to dress to, you can't dress overly sexy, but if you do, you got to figure out if that's the lane you're going in. You have to really figure it out because it plays into the audience as well.
Get ready to be captivated by Angelique's journey from child star to comedic powerhouse.
I'm here with Angelique Bates, and she's in L.A. She's moved to Georgia. We're talking to the pregame, but she's working, and she had the right. It's so funny. Just before we logged on, I have a friend. He owns a lighting company called Monster Lighting in L.A. I probably shouldn't say it. I'm not going to say his name. I shouldn't even say that. And he works in the film industry. He's like, how's Austin? I'm thinking about moving out there. Everybody's leaving LA. What's going on?
You know what? It was the pandemic. I know when I came back out here for work, it's completely different. Like it doesn't, I'm not going to say that on air, but it's different. I mean, I was born and raised out here.
Yeah, me too. Okay, let's get into your origin story. Where are you from? Tell us about yourself. Tell us how you got into comedy, but tell us about your origin story. Go ahead.
Okay, well, born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Like I said, this has been home for me for so long. Just recently had moved a couple years back to Georgia. So, like that's what I was saying, like things just seem a little bit different. I've been in the industry since I was 9 months old. A lot of people probably best remember me from Nickelodeon's All That. I was on Boston Public, did stand-up comedy for Laugh Factory. Laugh Factory was actually the very first venue that I performed stand-up at. I was in Damon Wayans' Laugh Factory boot camp. And Dave Chappelle and Jay Moore were some of the mentors that we had. So that was really awesome. And I've just been rocking. It's just like, I'm jacking so many trades, music, stand-up, acting. And I just recently came out of retirement for stand-up. Like I just started back last year after like almost 20 years.
Wow. I kind of did the same thing. I started stand-up when I was 19, then I would take a rest, and then I go on. And I just did stand-up a couple months ago. Now I'm mainly an entrepreneur now, but I have to leave it to do my business stuff. But it's funny, let's go back to the origins. Let's go back to, you studying with Damon Wayans, Marlon Wayans. I was just watching Marlon Wayans the other day. I was such an unsung genius. Marlon Wayans. I was watching his amazing. So you have great pedigree with that. I mean, what was that experience like, and how'd you segue, into stand up? Where did you perform for the first time, and when was it?
Okay, well, my mother. I definitely have to give the credit to my mother. When I was a kid, she had me in acting conservatories, voice conservatories, comedy. She's the one. Like she had me in a what was it? One of those inner city talent fest shows, But the stand up, she found out about the Laugh Factory boot camp. I think it might have been one of the very first or a couple that Damon Wayans had started through Laugh Factory, and it was an amazing experience. Like obviously, I knew who Damon Wayans was, but as far as Dave Chappelle and Jay Moore, those were still like fresh, comedians. So you're not even realizing until you get older how iconic that was, I want to say I was probably 12. I was young doing it. And I was actually one of the first youngest ethnic female to graduate from there and be paid. Because I'm actually a lot of people don't realize, but I'm a West Indian descent. I'm Haitian, Bohemian, and then on my mom's side, the Native American.
Wow.
So
that's why your production company is called Melting Pot Productions or something.
Well, that's my publicist. That's okay. But I'm a partner with that, and it's the mix because it's so many different nationalities.
Right.
And growing up, I had so many people just tell me that, you know, I was a great representation for them. And as a kid, you're not even thinking about that. But as you get older, it's just kind of like, oh, I guess they weren't seeing that representation and the Native American and the West Indian on like these big platforms. And to answer your question, the very first place that I ever did stand up was the Laugh Factory. And they were the very first ones to pay me too.
And how old were you?
Like I said, I was between 12 and 14.
That's what I thought you said. Yeah, I mean, but I have to ask you because that's like, I think that's like a record because I talked to a lot of comedians. 12, I think, is like the youngest. I know if I would go back, I would start when I was 13. And the one thing I would go up more, like just say, you know what, you got nothing else to do. You're only there. Go up all the time, go up more consistently. But because what a wonderful, now, what did you talk about? What was your material like at like 12 or 14 years old?
Okay, so, and I'm glad you asked that because when you get older, it's like you kind of have to adjust these.
Right.
So that was kind of the brick wall that I ran into. Okay, so being that age, like I was doing a lot of sketch comedy because obviously all that was sketch comedy. So, and actually that's how I ended up booking it because I knew how to do impersonations. I did a lot of improv, physical comedy. So my things were like technically stories, you know, I was storytelling. And that passes when you're a kid. I mean, it kind of passes when you're an adult, but you kind of have to change the gist of the material. You know, you can't really be talking about kid stuff when you're grown.
No, but as long as those stories have punchlines attached to them, you're all right. And the LPMs are going, right? You're set.
Yes. But they were definitely very kiddish. When I was, that age. Right. So, but it still passes because I still have my timing and everything. But right. That adjustment when I was going into adulthood from kid trying to do stand-up, it was kind of hard because I was still trying to figure out my bearing, right. And then it's like when you're a kid, you can have like the little bows and everything. And you have like the little bright colored outfits and everything. And now you're an adult.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did you like have trouble going? Also, let's get into the writing though. Writing stuff about that was like kid material, and then you're becoming a woman, and I mean, now you're more personal. You open up your life, more so.
Yeah.
But back then, was it more like, oh, it's just the premises are kind of like not my personal life. They're just like kind of a general news or information that a 14-year-old would be experience.
Oh my gosh. When I say the material is definitely different now, back then, like I said, it was that adjustment. And then I was coming off of Nickelodeon. So, it's a kid show. Everything I've done has been kid related. So, and it was no social media. So you kind of just like trying to balance the not going straight adult, but you're still stuck into this little kid box and everything. Yes. And then you haven't even experienced life. You're not a mother yet. You haven't dated. You haven't gone through the hells of life, So
that's the comedy gold. That's what you want. Those breakups and all those pain, all that pain and all that stuff. You're like, you're like, hey, I could use this.
Oh my gosh. Now, even then, I wasn't cussing, obviously. Because like I said, it was still that adjustment of coming off of that. Right. Nickelodeon, that's like the Nickelodeon Disney's, your children's show. You got to be really careful. Nowadays, I don't really care. But
not much, yeah.
The material that I have now, like I said, I just started back last year. And honestly, I was just doing open mic. I was just trying to get my nerves back up because I had been saying for years, oh, I'm going to do it. And then and you always say, oh, when the time comes, that time never comes. It comes or it does and it passes you. Right. So I made myself do it last year because the SAG-AFTRA strike. I was like, okay, well, we're not doing anything. I don't have any excuses. So I literally just one day just got in the car and I drove to the spot and did an open mic. And I didn't know that they were doing contests. So it was like best set of the day, best set of the week. And the next thing I know, I'm getting contacted about bookings. I was like, wait, hold on. I was just trying to get my nerves back right.
Did you have a set? Did you have a hard set, or you said you had like maybe 4 jokes, then I'm going to just riff the rest of the way?
So for the open mic, they had it where you had to do between 5 to 7 minutes.
Right.
So yeah, but I have more material than that. So I was just literally I thought what I thought I was doing. I thought I was just like working out the timing, seeing if it was getting laughs. Everything was getting laughs. And I guess the timing was perfect because, like I said, the next thing I know, I'm getting an email talking about, hey, so you want a book? I'm like, wait, what? And the next thing you know, after that, I'm back at the Laugh Factory. I'm being asked to host. I just did my Angelique Bates and Friends on the first of this month. And next week, I just got booked last night. We're talking to you. Just got booked last night. Sunset on the Rooftop.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Okay, so now, when did you move to Georgia? I'm trying to get the idea of what's happening here.
A week before the pandemic hit.
Okay. So
the whole COVID thing. You can't make it up.
Are you still living out in Georgia?
Yes.
How do you do stand-up? You do stand-up out in Georgia, and then you come out to LA and you do as many sets as you can, and then you go back, how does that work? So it's become very interesting.
Like I said, when life starts hitting you fast, you just have to roll with it. Right. Normally, like I said, bi-coastal, so I still have friends and family out here or whatever, and I would come for like the holidays or whatever. And then once you start being towards like Christmas and New Year's, then trying to go back south, those plane tickets and the weather keeps on getting delayed, so you end up being here extra month or so. So in that process, that the flights were getting delayed, I was like, you know what? Let me see about getting some bookings. And I just kept on with the comedy. And like I said, I didn't think it was going to take off like that. I literally was just trying to like get my feet wet again, figure out what I was going to do. And, I was posting my clips on my sets on, my page, and bookings started coming in. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, here's a booking here. Ooh, this is kind of coming fast. Oh, I have a booking in 2 more days. I have a booking next week. I was like, okay, so how are we going to do this? So, because I'm literally getting ready to fly back to Georgia because I have to film. And then I literally have to turn right back around now because I have a set. So I'm trying to figure it out because it's happening a little bit frequently. I'm not complaining because, it's what I manifest, is what I prayed for, but it's happening faster than I expected. So I'm trying to figure it out.
This is so interesting.
Kind of pricey.
Yeah, sure. But you said, was the film in Georgia or at LA?
Yes. I have to film in Georgia. Yeah.
That's awesome. You're able to find work out there and then go back and forth. Okay. So not Tyler Perry, because he's out in Georgia. No?
Oh, you actually no, he's not. It's funny. I've auditioned for him a couple of times, but it's a couple of projects. Like I just appeared on The Family Business, which was actually in California. And it's so crazy because, like I said, I'm in Georgia. And since flights were getting delayed and everything, literally the role that I ended up going for, they were, I guess, last minute casting. But they only do LA local. So if I had actually made it back to Georgia, I wouldn't even have had the opportunity to audition for that. So it's been very interesting how things have been working out.
So let's get into I want to get into the psyche of this though, because this is an interesting dynamic. So
yeah,
you said you took 20 years off.
Yeah.
Stand-up.
From the stand-up.
Yeah. But your pedigree for such a long time has been in entertainment. So, but there's nothing more humbling than doing stand-up, because you're going to have great nights, but you have bad, there's no way you don't have bad nights.
Oh, that's what made me go into retirement.
Okay. It was made you were going to what? Therapy, did you say?
I probably need to do that too. No.
But I want to know how you dealt with because that's like, it doesn't, wait a second. You're like, I've done this, I've done that. And then you come back and you do well on your first set and you win a contest. But then it's like playing golf. That one first time you try, you're good. And then the second time you come back and you suck, you just have to, you can't keep on having. So the first time, I'm not even going to say, did you have a bomb night, but the first questionable bomb night that you had, how did you navigate through that? Because you have this long-term pedigree.
The perfect answer for that. I went into a 20-year retirement. That's exactly what happened.
Let's talk about that. I know how that feels. So, because go on to that.
So, like I said, I was doing really good. Like I said, I came fresh off of the Nickelodeon run. I was a regular at the Ha Ha Cafe. It was Buddy Lewis and Kim Whitley. They had a weekly, show there, and I was blessed enough to be able to just regularly go there and perform. Was doing it. People were coming through, laughs, everything. It was great. You're feeling yourself, and I was getting booked at different venues, and I remember. Oh, I don't even remember. I don't even think that spot is open anymore. But I had a friend that was like, hey, he was promoting. He was like, hey, come through. I have this comedy spot. I want you to send him. And BT Comic View is auditioning. So you should definitely come through. All right. So mind you, I said that was that period where I was going in between from childhood to adulthood and developing. And then also, it's really, you have to pick what lane you're going to be in. Because like I said, that kid to the adulthood to how you're going to dress to, you can't dress overly sexy, but if you do, you got to figure out if that's the lane you're going in. You have to really figure it out because it plays into the audience as well.
Right.
So when I went for this performance / audition, I would say I was cocky because, like I said, I was hitting shows, I was getting my laughs and everything, and then, like I said, I was going into from this childhood, just turned 18. And, developing, well, at that particular, you already developed, but, you're just figuring out what you're trying to do with yourself. And I went in there like I was a glamour queen, had my hair all done, all that stuff, probably wasn't the best outfit choice because at the end of the day, too, you have so one of the issues that I run into, which not so much now, but back then I used to run into if I was dressed overly glamorous or whatever, and was thinking my shit didn't stink. I would have the boyfriends or the husbands that were sitting in the front row with the wife or the girlfriends, and they would be looking at their boyfriends or husbands like, "Oh, why are you laughing so hard?" So I would have them looking at me like, "Oh, she thinks she's cute," kind of thing. And that might have been the energy that I was giving off, but I'm not thinking about your husband or your boyfriend. Like, I'm just making him laugh. But I used to have them just like, just literally, like, you couldn't even make it up. They would sit there, cross their arms, make it so clear that there was a problem and just stare at me and specifically like, I'm not going to laugh. So that was one of those situations that day. And I might have actually been funny, but because most of the females were in the front row, it was like, I'm not going to laugh. So there were jokes that normally would get laughs. And when I say it was like crickets, you might have heard 1 or 2 laughs. That was the closest I came to bombing because I had never had crickets. It was always just laughter, ha, 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 whatever. I didn't have the females sitting there like, make me laugh. Oh, I'm not going to do it. So that was embarrassing being that that's also for BT Comic View at the same time because they don't know what's going on. They just like, okay, she's not making them laugh or she's getting 1 or 2 laughs. And it was just more crickets. And I remember just that feeling when you're performing weekly at the Ha Ha Cafe and everybody's laughing and ha ha ha, you're going over here and it's just constant laughter. And then all of a sudden, just no laughter. Yeah, that didn't hit me too well. And I did not like the feeling. And like I said, that kind of actually sent me into retirement because I was like,
18?
I'm good.
You said you were 18?
I had just turned 18.
That's a young age to retire, but you're like, but I get it. You're just like, look, this is just.
Right. Well, if you think about when I started.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, because I was still freshly from the 12, I was freshly still doing stand-up, like regularly, like how the adults were. Wow. So that 18 was that shift from childhood to adulthood, and I wasn't able to grasp that concept. And then you also have to think about the material. So I hadn't completely gone out of the kids storytelling thing. So that could have also been a thing too, because it's like the guys thought it was funny, but if the girls are like already feeling how they're feeling, and then you're kind of in between kid, adult jokes, it's kind of like, which direction are we going in? Like now, my material is about parenthood, dating, sex, cars declining, stuff that people relate to. Completely different.
You know who
And now
you
I
are?
don't care. Like I dress how I dress, but I think we're in a different stage too. You know, because you have the Linnells, wow, absolutely love, like that's my auntie, and she dresses all night. She has her jewelry, she has her outfits. That's her image. Everybody knows that's Linnell. You have it's other comedians too, that they have how they dress. You know.
Right.
And so you just find what works for you, what direction of the material that you're going to go in, and you stick with it. Like I said, back then we didn't have the social media, so if you're a kid, you weren't in the adult comedy clubs seeing the routine. So I didn't know what people were doing. Like I said, I got thrown into everything at 9 months old and just grew into the industry.
Right. You're Roy Hobbs. Do you know who Roy Hobbs is? Do you know?
Yes.
You know the movie The Natural?
Yes.
I quote it all the time. You're unique, Hobbs, because you had this promising career and then you didn't get shot and fall, and some women jumped out of a window, but you had something happen. Then you take this long retirement and then you come back and start kicking ass. And that's
exactly how.
Where did this person come from? Are people saying that? It's like, what the hell? Where'd you come from? All of a sudden.
Well, it's so funny because especially with the comedy. So like I said, when I took the retirement with the comedy, I was still kind of doing acting, but there was, hiccups with the acting. So it was like you have that hiccup with the acting. You're not acting as much as you want to.
Right.
So then it's like you're gonna take the retirement with comedy. It kind of leaves you with not too much to be able to reach for. So it's like even with the 9 to 5s, I was having a hard time doing the 9 to 5s because now I just came from the Boston public. I just came from all that because they're just like, because we, like I said, didn't have cable. Well, cable, I think, was just now starting to be popular. So not every household had cable. You didn't have the social media. I think MySpace might have been just popular. You had the AOL. So I'm not watching myself. I'm not realizing we were the number one show. I'm not realizing when I'm getting on the bus, I had people being like, you look like that girl from All That. Oh, but you look better than her. Like, it used to be the funniest thing. Oh, you look better than her, but I am the girl from All That. So I would try to get 9 to 5s and it wasn't working. It's like, I would have to quit my 9 to 5s because then the fans were coming to the job. So now you just have, you start hitting like this dark era, because it's like everything that you love, you feel like you can't do it. And then now you add on, like I said, what happened with the stand-up. Now I'm in adulthood. I've missed that childhood window, so now you got to figure out which direction, what kind of material you're going to do. But then I was still locked in while I'm still the girl from Nickelodeon. I didn't shake that probably until almost a decade later, because it was like that was one thing that was messing me up material wise. I didn't know what I wanted to do stand-up about because it's like, okay, be careful because I'm the girl from Nickelodeon, even though I'm in my 20s, pushing my 30s, So once I finally shook that and was just like, because my friends would be like, girl, you're funny. Like, even with me just not being funny, a regular conversation, and we were just on the phone, like I'm literally just being myself. They're cracking their sides and everything. And for years, people kept on trying to bag me to come back. I was like, nope, not doing it. Can't make me do it. And I think I did try to pop back up at a venue. I had been in town and the owner was like, he was talking to me like I was a newie. And I'm thinking, like, I've been doing this for a very long time. And the way he approached me, it was like he thought I was fresh. And I do tend to look a lot younger than my age.
Yeah, you do.
And the approach was kind of like, well, if you do this for me, I can make you big. So I kind of ran into that when I was considering coming back. And I was like, yep, no, not going to do it. Going to still stay in retirement because it's like, I got to deal with that too. And it's like, I've been in this game for too long, but he thought that I was younger. So he thought I was like a 19, 20-year-old and I'm actually already like pushing 30 or whatever. Right. So now with the stand-up last year, when I was doing the open mic, no one had any idea that I was because they still call me the girl from All That. I'm like, I'm in my 40s now, but I'm the girl from All That. They didn't realize that was me until I guess the word started spreading and they're just like, so now I put it in my routine because they're like, you need to put it in your routine because people, they're not realizing it's you until after the fact. So, I incorporated my routine and it's just the look on everybody's face once they realize it's me. It's like, oh my God. Because, when they promote me, they're not saying that. They're just like, Angelique Bates, which is cool. I love it. It's awesome. And I think that's great. But just to see the shocked look on, the 90s babies and the 80s babies, it's just like, oh my God. So then they crack up even more when I'm talking about my 16-year-old and my 15-year-old, and I'm talking about parenthood and adulthood. I'm talking about dating, sex. Like, they're just like,
You know what I find interesting, the dynamics of an artist is that what you went through, it's like you had all the success early in the career,
Yeah.
the ego has to play a point, and the ego plays a point in there. And then you can, but I think comedy works better when you have lack of ego. And then you step away, you do your 9 to 5, and inevitably humble pie will hit your crossroads, and then you come back as an artist with a new equilibrium. I think it's a beautiful thing. So the whole new perspective, a better, more, vulnerability as an artist to come back with your material and how you perform. Cause if you grow up like in that environment, everybody's a yes person. Oh, you're so great. And this, and oh yeah. Do you want that? That person was wrong. You're right. It's like, no, you were probably wrong. It's like all that. But then you spend time in, I don't want to say the real world, we're all in the real world, but then you come back as this artist with this new equilibrium. I bet you it opened up your writing, your performing, and everything else. You were like, this is a lot easier, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely did. Like you said, it's heavy on the humble. Because you cannot be conceited. You can't have a big ego, and it comes out. Okay, like the audience is very sensitive, and even more sensitive now.
Yeah,
but it's
even like now. Isn't that interesting though? Even now, more so than ever, because everybody, since you started and to where when you come back now, everybody is a mini celebrity. So so you have to be actually more careful. It's like the more the real world has creeped into stand up to where you're like, hey, look, we're all in the same. Because I've done stand up recently, and it's different than it was, because my break was like a 9-year break, and then I come back a couple months ago, and I talked about because my background is I played Dirk Diggler in the Dirk Diggler story, which became the movie Boogie Nights, which I appear in as well. I do the scene with Don.
I saw that movie.
Okay, so Don Cheadle's trying to sell somebody a stereo, and that was me. I got like I'm not the scene, but like no, the audiences don't know that movie. That's 1997. They're like, and who do you think you are? I don't care about you being an actor. You're just trying to do humble bragging, and I'm like. Because I know it did. I know they didn't. I know they felt that way because the first 3 jokes hit big, and I fucked up the whole set after that. And then even like afterwards, I'm like, and I got into another routine. I started talking, and I was like, and I thought I had a good joke to like, I was like, I said, ooh, this turned into like a TED Talk. Not even like not even that turned into a joke like that. Nothing. So I was like, I was, it was bad. So, I think that like the audiences are a little different now. And even when I played the beginning of that routine on TikTok and somebody said, this seems like a 90s routine. I was like, oh shit. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. But so do you find that the audiences are more in your face than ever? And they're like all up in your business, and they're just kind of like, hey, look, we're all somebody too. And you can't act, you got to be careful. You got to be a psychologist almost with your material. Yes,
it's definitely a formula to it. A lot of people feel entitled. There's a lot of entitlement that's happening. And then, like you said, they're really all up in your business. It's a catch for me. I've noticed from observation, just the spots that I've been at so far, the audiences have varied from sold out to not sold out to maybe nobody there, maybe a couple people, to maybe it's the friends of some of the other comedians, and that are there. You cannot base your routines off of that because it will make you want to go into retirement again because you'll be like, oh, it wasn't funny because like I just finished performing somewhere. And it was jokes like, and it's not being conceited. It's like, yourself, your timing, your routines. And I was like, I know those jokes are funny. Killed it at the last spot I was at. And I was like, I knew those jokes were funny. But then if I had just did it at this previous venue, it may have gotten a couple laughs. Or also I've noticed with demographic, like you really have to be careful really have to be careful with your material because, like I said, now they're a little bit more sensitive. And my stand up, I don't do politics. I don't touch it. Nothing against anyone who does, but that's the world that we live in. I don't do racial jokes. The closest that you'll get me to doing that is if I'm explaining a story, because I still do my storytelling, is if I'm explaining that, okay, well, there was a white lady, there was a black lady, there was an Asian lady, like, then that's how, but as far as those race jokes, I stay away from that. And I actually did a performance with somebody, a couple people, and I watched the feedback from them doing race jokes. And I was like, it bombed, completely bombed. The rest of the routine was completely fine, but when they got to that, bombed. And I just saw that. And literally, it almost like the person was defeated. And I think they were older than me, was defeated. It was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to get off the stage now. Like, I've seen so many people like get on stage, like since I've come back, just look defeated. And they're just like, and clearly bombing. And then they're just like, all right, I'm gonna go right now. And I'm like, like these crowds, like, but it's a math to it. You have to have the timing. This is one thing I've noticed people aren't doing. And this goes for the comedians. Mm-hmm. You have to know, I always say you have to know your opponent. You have to know your crowd. I don't care what you studied for or what you practiced when you came to the minute. This is why you're supposed to have multiple materials. The minute you see what the audience looks like, perfect example. I was hosting and performing at a show. It was raising money for domestic violence. So the smartest thing would probably not to have any jokes about domestic violence.
Right.
One of the comedians did domestic violence jokes.
They're going to love this.
And it was so cringeworthy because it was just like, dude, like, and the organization that I'm on the celebrity ambassador for, they, like I said, it's Factory and L.A, and they give you free cosmetic surgery. So people that, had trauma as far as acid burns or anything that came from violent acts, domestic violence, they help this. So you have these survivors that are in the audience while this person is doing domestic violence jokes. Probably not the best choice. Now that might have kicked A, no pun intended, that might have kicked A at the whole nother venue, but that was not. That's why you're supposed to know your crowd. So I've seen stuff like that too. It's a math to it. I don't care if you're a legend at what you're doing. You have to, because like I said, we're in a world that's completely different. More people are more sensitive. You got the cancel culture. I don't really care too much about cancel culture because I don't do anything where I can get canceled, but that's the world that we live in. Like I have a joke where my son, it's the truth, where I accidentally, it was facts, I accidentally took my son to his first gay opera. Hmm. I didn't know.
Is there any other kind? I'm just joking.
Right?
Opera.
But when I say all of them laugh at that because there's so many signs that it was, but I didn't know. Yeah. And I walk in and like the crowd is like being unsupportive. And I'm like, yo, we're just at an opera. Like, why is everybody looking at me like, oh, you brought your son? Oh, great job, mom. And I'm like, so stuff like that, that's funny.
Yes.
But I've seen people go left with it. And I always do a disclaimer. I'm like, look, love who you love. Boom, but check it out. I ended up taking my son here. Kills it. I've seen people derail off of that. I've seen
off of that. Yeah. I think the band loop with the audience has always been important, but now you need to be so empathetic and read that audience. It's almost pays to like, some people like going up first. Most people like going up last. It pays to like, write notes and let's say, what are they laughing at? What's happening here? Can I, what can I pay attention on in the audience? Cause they want you to pay attention then to them in a good way and like get them to service me. It's almost like, and it's different now. The way it used to be, it's like back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, early 2000s, it'd be like, surprise me, mm-hmm. And they everybody still wants to be surprised because the anatomy of a joke, right? The punchline is surprise. Yeah. But now it's more like service me and surprise me, so to speak, a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm glad you actually mentioned the thing about like the order. I've noticed that's another thing that plays into your sets, because let's just say you just had 4 mediocre comedians before you that are on the verge of bombing and being offensive, and you have to come right after that. The audience, if it has either been drinking or whatever is happening, they're done. They're over it by the time you come up. Unfortunately, you still have to perform, but now because these other comedians, I've been in that situation too, these other comedians kind of got them already on edge. Now they're looking at you like, oh my God, what are you about to do? You know, so I've definitely ran into that. I prefer to be in the first half now, because I learned you only got a couple of times to do that to me. And I was like, ooh, because I don't know what you're doing. And everybody, you know, sometimes people have bad nights. I don't know what your set is. So nothing against everyone. Like I said, I retired for 20 years. I know people that, like I said, I told you there were people that were bombing, and guess what? They were still doing it. And I see them almost every week and they're still doing it, have bombed. I quit, was like, peace out. So I'm not going to sit here and judge anybody, but I definitely go up in that first half now.
You know, let's talk about when you have a questionable night, you know, and you're tired and you're on the 405 and it's taking you 45 minutes to get back home or the hotel, whatever. And that's actually a quick drive, but in LA, depending on what time. But you know, you how do you battle the attrition? How do you tell yourself what's the mentality, and how do you know, what are the steps that you do mentally to say, no, you know, this is why, you know, what kind of inventory do you do on yourself to like keep going?
The first one is my kids. Man, that's actually the biggest one right there is my kids. And because I was, you know, on a retirement, I put myself on retirement for the stand-up, and I got put on a retirement, so to speak, from the acting. So now that, you know, things are back moving, it's like, I'll be like, look, now you're finally here. Now you're finally here, and now you're playing with it. Now you're playing in my face. Okay, well then if you really don't want this, then I'll take it again. So I actually had a situation like last month where I don't know if it had to do with the weather, because it started raining like really bad out here. And it was just one of those days, you know, it was a gloomy day. I think I had food poisoning the night before too. Like, it was just a lot going on. And I did not want to go all the way to getting in the vehicle and pulling up. And I was just like, you're here. Like, it's just, I think it was like probably a 7-minute set. I mean, sometimes it ends up running over because, you know, you know how that goes. But nonetheless, I did it. I walked in, put my smile on, they laughed, they think, and I left and went back to bed. But you have those, you're human. But it's like, you have to figure out, especially once you're getting older, you don't have other opportunities. You don't get those second chances. It's either now or never. So, you know, if it comes back around, you're really blessed, because I see people that have tried to come back around and it doesn't happen for them. Like I said, like, I'm still shocked. Like I said, all I was trying to do was do an open mic and work on my material. Next thing I know, I'm getting booked here, boom, boom, boom. It's like, okay, well, we're here now. Yeah. So, you know, I'm not trying to miss any performances. Every performance that I've noticed that I've worked at so far, something else has come from it. Other bookings has come from it. Somebody that I haven't seen in a while was either there or was a relative or related to somebody that I worked with, like a major connection, or like something has always come from it. So it's like, if I would have missed that, I don't know what God had for me over there. If I didn't go, I would never know what was behind that door. So it's like, you never know what you're missing by not going.
I love your journey.
Not everybody gets booked. Not everybody gets on the flyer. So that's also disrespectful to the venue too. That's disrespectful to the promoters. Like, after a while, then it's going to be like, why am I not getting booked? Because now they can't count on you to show up. Like, I have a show, and this was being mommy duties and trying to be an entertainer. I ended up clashing my schedule. And I discovered the night before, I was like, oh my God, my son has a soccer game at the exact same time as the show. At the same time, I need to be on stage. So literally, I'm like, the current situation, I'm trying to work it out right now. Like, okay, he's gonna be a soccer, but I have to be on stage. Some people would just be like, okay, well, I'm gonna be at my kid's game. Yeah, but that's a catch-20 with that. We've been promoting these flyers for over a week, and it might have worked. Yeah, you already know how it is.
Somebody's gonna pick that kid up and take him to. Got a friend or somebody take him to soccer.
That's exactly what's happening. But I know people that they don't think that far. You know what I'm saying? Or either they just would have been like, oh, well, I'm just gonna go do the show. But then I'm that mother where it's just like, it's a soccer game. Like these are you're raising your kids to be, certain kind of people. So I don't want to do that either. So I'm like, yes, somebody's about to be over here with him while I'm doing this. I'm gonna go on stage. I'm gonna be in that first half. I'm gonna go on stage, do my thing, and hit back and be soccer mom, But
that was nice.
You just have to balance it.
You're juggling it. Your mindset seems really healthy. I saw it was before we logged on. I was watching some of your stuff on Instagram, and you really are relaxed and having a great time. Your energy is great. You're wearing your nice, beautiful white and red hibiscus shirt, and you just got a beautiful smile on you, and you just have this great energy. It seems like I know there's going to be hills and valleys, but I love a lot of comedians take that gestation period. And then they come back with this new, not a lot, but actually, but yours is interesting because you've come back and you're seems like you're hitting some strides. So I just think it's wonderful. Tell everybody how they can find out more about you.
You guys can go to my website, angeliquebates.com. Or if you don't want to go to the website, you can go to Instagram. I deleted my Twitter/X, and I just came back, but there's like no followers on there. But you can go to YouTube or TikTok and Angelique Bates.
Check out Instagram. Really, there's great content up there, and I really enjoyed watching myself. So, I mean, go anywhere you want, but I would check out Instagram, and that'll probably lead you to your other channels. But it seems like you have a nice, a successful journey, business or stand up or whatever should be like this. You're like this, but it's never going to be like just a straight line. It's always going to be kind of jagged, up and down, but constantly going from left to right upwards. And it seems like that's what you're doing right now, and it's wonderful.
Well, I appreciate that. And, with you saying, just for anybody that's watching this, I wasn't always like that. And it took a very long time, and it was a very, very hard journey to get like this. I was a domestic violence survivor, rape survivor. I almost committed suicide. My best friend, rest in peace, is the one that saved me. I went through a lot, child abuse, everything. So to be able just to hear you even say that means a lot. Like to be able to finally have that peace, to be genuinely happy through everything that I've been through in life. It took a very hard road to get like this.
Well,
and it was a choice I had to make.
You don't talk about that in your stand-up too much, do you?
No, I don't, because you know what, for me, stand-up, I try not to go too dark because people already have enough darkness in the world. When I feel like when people are coming to watch a show, they're coming to forget their problems.
Right.
So every now and then I might, like I said, I have a joke about when my car declined. That was actually real life. I actually ended up homeless for about a year. So, I mention little things just to be like, look, it's not just you. It happens to the best of us. It happens to your favorite quote, quote, celebrity. The one you might be watching this, you don't know what's happening to the person that you just heard on the radio. Some of them just aren't talking about it, but I end up talking about it because I want people to understand it's not just them. I have so many people that DM me talking about that I've saved their lives because they didn't know, they just want someone to listen, and I'll actually listen, or I'll be like, look, I've been there. I'll give them advice, whatever. And I still have people from years ago. They'll come in. Someone checks in literally once a year. And she's always like, I'm just wanting to let you know I made it. I'm good. Because she was about to kill herself. And if you saw what my DMs look like, it's crazy. But just to, I'm glad that my tests have been testimonies. And I'm still going through things. So, I haven't completely mastered it. I still have hiccups. I still derail, but
right.
I'm here.
I didn't know that. And if you're willing, we need to have you on my other podcast, Long Shot Leaders. because that's we tell about underdog stories who found, overcome large obstacles to find success. I would love to have you tell your story. It's a little bit more intense, not as more joke. It's like, but it's really like a lot of sharing, but I think that would be a great story to tell.
Oh yeah, I'm open.
All right.
I'm open
We'll talk about that post game. All right.
Okay.
Angelique Bates, thank you so much for sharing. I love you. Keep on making people laugh. I think it's wonderful, and don't stop smiling like you are right now. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Gear up for your next adventure and head over to bolotour.com to check out the amazing Bolo Pack and their other innovative outdoor gear. Catch you next time.